Once again, I'd like to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to another vlog. Thank you ever so much for joining me. If this is your first visit to my channel, my name is Adam Gibbs. I'm a professional photographer. I've been a photographer for just over 30 years now, photographing wilderness areas and nature, landscape, that kind of stuff. Today, I'm actually not far from the city of Vancouver. I've come over to the mainland to pick up my good friend Paul Thompson. Paul and I are doing a few workshops on Vancouver Island. So I picked him up from the airport and we've come out to an area that I've been coming to for 30 years now. This is Golden Ears Provincial Park, and I have a kind of a hate-love relationship with this park. I've been out here so many times and come away with so little, but the images that I have come away from this area over the years, some of my favorite images. So it just proves the point that, you know, if you just keep going back to the same area over and over again, eventually you will get the light and the conditions that you want, and ultimately the images that you're hoping to get. Now today it's pretty cloudy, the light is quite flat, so nothing extraordinary happening there, but I am determined to wander around some of my haunts that I've been to many times and try and find something in the chaos. So as you can see here, we're working with an extremely chaotic scene, but I just love it. I love these vine maples that grow throughout this area. There used to be a lot more than there are now. They've slowly disappeared over the years, mostly because of the snow. You get snow in here and it just flattens them, and then that's the end of them. And I don't think they last that long either. They maybe last 30 years and then they slowly die back. So this is the first image here. I'll show you what I'm thinking here. I know it looks very chaotic, but there is a little bit of order in there, so I'll show you what I'm thinking. Okay, so with any woodland shots that I've taken photographs of, I usually approach it in a way that I try to look at the scene in terms of shapes, contrast, rather than, oh, this is a tree, I want to photograph this character tree. So in this case, what I'm looking at is not so much the subject itself, but the lines that it's forming or creating. And you can see that the natural behavior of these trees tends to be these sweeping branches that go from one side to the other, and we have multiple arches here that I quite like. So with that in mind, I've decided to, yes, it is chaotic, but at the same time the order for me is within these various arches. We have these middle arches here, and then we have some in the center here, and then we have this main one here, and we have another branch that comes across. So there is somewhat of a pattern there created by these branches. For me, the most important thing really in this case is to try and emphasize as many of those arches or branches as possible, and the only thing I really have to do that is just make sure that I'm at an angle or perspective where I'm able to do that. So I've just lowered my camera down a little bit so that this one in particular, right in the middle here, isn't cut off by this here. So as you can see, if I had this at eye level, say up here, you can see that it starts to get a bit confusing in this section here. So I've lowered my camera, if I can get it back down there again, so that now we can see there's a definite line there. Same with this one, and this one has kind of a neat bit of character to it because it has this kink in there. So I mean, it's not going to be perhaps something that I might hang on my wall, but this is all about practicing your crafts, trying to figure out complex compositions, and hopefully you'll come away with something that you're really happy with. And in this case, it is what it is. It's a very busy scene, but it does have some, to my eye anyway, some form of order, and that's how I approach all of these scenes. So we'll take this and we'll try and see if we can get another shot in this really complex woodland. I'm on a roll. I must be in the mood for really busy scenes. I have no idea if these are going to translate, but it's such a beautiful area in here, but it is hard to do it justice. Again, I'm looking at this in terms of shapes and how those shapes interact with one another, or the lines, rather than just looking at it and say, oh, that's just too chaotic. I mean, it is chaotic, but the lines within the frame are what kind of hold it together for me anyway. I guess you guys can be the judge of the final results. So in this case, I'm doing a pano 65 by 24. I might also do a 4 by 5 or 4 by 3, but what I'm looking at is we have this wonderful arch here, and then we have more arches behind. The problem is that there's so much other stuff in there that's a bit distracting for those arching lines. But let's see what we can come up with here. I'll show you again the composition and some of the reasons why I've composed it the way I have. Hopefully some of my observations will perhaps help you in your woodland photography or other types of photography in the future. Okay, so this is the widest I can go. You'll have to try and imagine 65 by 24 in this section here. And as you can see, we have some definite lines. We have the sweeping of this. We don't have to include the whole thing to give the impression that it's sweeping, because we can see it kind of goes, just cropped off at the top here, it goes across here. Then we have this other sweeping and some more in the background. The only thing that is a little bit distracting is this, for me, is this big branch here, but I'm not going to knock it down or move it. So as soon as I move over to the left, then we lose these sweeping lines. So it's a bit of a compromise. One thing I did want to show you though is, if I'd move this over to say something like that, you'll notice that all of a sudden, because of things like this branch here and this, it's kind of pulling you away from the center portion. Like right now in the center there isn't really much interest. These are the interesting parts here, so it pulls you out of the frame. So if I go back to my original composition here, like something like that, all of a sudden we have more interest in here and here, and nothing to really pull you out of the frame. So that's my reasoning behind this. Okay, so this is my third image in this area today, and I think this is probably my favorite so far, probably because it's not as busy as the other two. I mean, it's still busy, but it's not as busy. The other thing that I quite like about this is there's a gap in the woods here. So we have this ambient light coming down, and it has a nice quality of light to it. It's hard to explain. It's almost like it's backlit somewhat, even though it isn't. But as you can see in the ferns here, that there is some luminance to them, whereas the other photographs, there isn't really any luminance to the foliage around. So I think that's what I really like about this. And the lines in the trees are a bit more defined because they have contrast. So if we look through the camera here, so now I'm going to do a 65 by 24 pano. So again, it'll crop it across here, and I really love the sweep of these. The lines are quite graphic. Now, this is similar to the second image I took, where I had that. Remember, I said I had a branch going out, and it was kind of leading you out of the frame. And this kind of does that, but I'm hoping that this broken off branch here will be enough to bring us back in. You know, that's the thing. It's easy to see these things when you're back at home on your computer, but when you're out in the field, it's a little bit different. It might not work. I mean, perhaps I should bring the camera over even more and widen the scene. That's possible as well. You'll notice as soon as I do that, though, that's why I'm doing the 65/24, because things like this are just don't need to be in the frame. And the white sky up here I find distracting as well, so that's why I'm doing the pano. So I'll try a couple of little variations, move here and there, and perhaps there'll be a big difference and maybe not. But yeah, I quite like this. On my last video up to Mount Tom Taylor, I mentioned that I was using a new polarizer from Case Filters called the CPL3, and I've been using it on this little excursion as well, just to keep trying it out. Now, I haven't used it really enough to give you a final kind of analysis of it, but so far it's working out really good. The only thing that bothered me at the beginning was that this is actually a screw-on filter. It's not one of the magnetic ones, but supposedly it does work with the magnetic inlays that you can put in the front of your lens, so that's a good thing. The reason why they did it as a screw-in is to mitigate the chance of getting any kind of light bleed in between the lens and the filter, kind of like an ND filter. The other nice thing about these new filters is that they are kind of rainproof, like the rain will just drip right off them without leaving any marks or anything like that, so that's good. So the colors are more defined, there's better definition. So we'll just keep trying it out, and if you do have any questions about it, please be sure to leave them in the comments down below, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. But so far it's working out pretty good.
Thank you once again to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video. Are you ready to take your online presence to the next level? Meet Design Intelligence by Squarespace, a fusion of world-class design and AI technology that unlocks your creative potential like never before. Build a stunning, personalized website that's as unique as you are and stands out from the crowd. With Squarespace Payments, managing transactions is easier than ever. Get started in just a few clicks and let your customers pay their way, whether it's Apple Pay, Afterpay, or more. Need to invoice clients? Squarespace has you covered. Simplify your workflow and focus on growing your business. If you're interested in building an awesome website, why not head on over to squarespace.com and give it a try. And if you like what you find, use the code AdamGibbs for 10% off your first purchase.
All right, Paul and I have come down to another little favorite spot of mine that I've been coming to for years and years, and I've managed to come away with some images that I really enjoy from this little location. What's kind of unique about it, for me anyway, is for whatever reason, probably because of the light, we have bracken ferns that grow just in this spot here, probably because of the light coming through. There's a bit of a wetland just beyond this point here, so there's no trees there, and we have this light kind of bleeding in, and even on a gloomy day kind of like today, it still looks luminous. You'll notice that the bracken ferns still have a bit of a glow to them just from that ambient light. So I'm trying to shoot into that spot, but without including that in the photograph. I think I found a half decent composition. There's a log lying on the ground that kind of leads you in a bit, and then we just have the shrubs and the straight trees. The sphagnum moss on the ground is really quite lovely. As you look around, you can see massive stumps of big trees that used to be here. I think they were probably logs, probably about 100 years ago. I think I'd rather photograph those, but they're long gone, so we have to settle on this. All right, let's go and have a chat with Paul, see how he made out, see what he thinks of the chaos.
It was chaotic.
So, Paul, did you embrace the chaos?
Well, I embraced it, but I didn't find much.
So you did not, you weren't one with the chaos?
No, it took me a while to become one with the chaos. I found one shot, but it was messy. It was very busy.
That's the chaos.
I think I was saying before, it makes it difficult when you've just got off a flight as well the next day.
Oh, here we go.
To suddenly get into it. You know what I mean, though? It's like a different, you're getting completely different scenery, and it's trying to tune into it, really.
That is true. Plus, we did go out drinking last night because yesterday was my 60th birthday.
Yeah, that's why he's got his Zimmer.
In my next video, I'll be using me walker and my wheelbarrow. I mean, my wheelbarrow, wheelchair. Yeah, I'll be in the wheelbarrow.
I'll be carting you around.
Over there, Paul. That looks like a good composition. Get over there.
But yeah, it's beautiful here. It's really nice. It's a beautiful area. It's peaceful. It's great. It's just hard. It's hard, but
hard for hard photographers.
It's enjoyable though. Yeah.
Anyway, well, thank you ever so much for tolerating this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you didn't, well, too bad. And if you did, thumbs up would be great. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right.
See you later.
Bye-bye.